Hello, everyone. Greetings and you're welcome once more to the JMA Connections for a very quick update regarding the situation, the tense political situation in La République du Cameroon. Today is the 5th of November 2025. So we are just hours away from some very dramatic and interesting moments in the lives or in the political history of La République du Cameroun. I'm delighted really that things are unfolding. In a kind of way that no one, no one in any office in Yaoundé really expected. In the past couple of weeks, we have seen this drive gradually to where we are today, where we are now just hours away from something that will not only be embarrassing for Paul Biya, who has been in power for some 43 years, but also embarrassing for France, that thought that they will always be on top of the game in every circumstance in Francophone Africa. This time around, something interesting really happened. This time around, the French themselves are wondering whether they really did carry out their assignment properly. There is some kind of blame game, real blame game, going on right now between the secret services of La République du Cameroun and the secret services of France. The reason is simple. When they look at the notes that they each had about all the potential presidential candidates, they come to the simple conclusion that they were so seriously mistaken. All focus was on Maurice Kamto, and all opposition leaders of opposition political parties, were profiled, seriously profiled. And so I had a talk this day with, with my pals at the presidency of the Republic of La République du Cameroon, and in fact, the the blame game that they say is going on now between uh, the France between Paris and Yaoundé is heightened. It's making the two countries to literally get to that place where relations, are souring. The notes are very discordant at this point in time, and it's getting so unsettling because the French believe that the Biya government appears not to be playing the patient card, and they are going dirty. Dirty with respect to the fact that Cameroon, as we know it, had always worked through this kind of manipulations. The French are particularly vexed that while they, have been trying, working very hard to, overcome the backlash. To overcome the backlash. This is really serious. This statement is what it really is. The backlash that generally comes from the opposition that believes that France is always supporting the sitting government, is supporting the Biya government. At the same time, they are beginning to see a strange occurrence. The strange occurrence is that regime apologists and a lot of social media talking heads hired by the Biya government are now turning the fire to on France and further endangering French investments and French citizens in Cameroon and literally in other parts of Africa, because the French don't understand how suddenly the fire will be on France because France has not yet issued a letter of congratulations. My dear people, I had explained here previously that the French were behind everything that you're seeing, working on everything behind the scenes, and that when the results were going to be proclaimed, the French will play a wait game. I've had the opportunity to play here the interview of a senior official in the French Ministry of La Francophonie and Foreign Cooperation, where she said very plainly that France was watching and wanting to see how the civil society is taking everything, because they want to be in tune with the civil society. They want to see that the civil society has the opportunity to express itself, and they want to operate in such a way that they guarantee that the civil society has a voice, has made its voice heard. And this is a clear indication that the French will want to see the atmosphere, at least the tension, go down. And then they understand that the people of Cameroon have decided to swallow this other very bitter pill before they come from behind and then congratulate a bit reluctantly. That plays well for France. That does not want to come across as being the godfather of what we have seen. And so I had explained in my previous video, my interlocutors tell me very plainly, and I've even spoken to with other authorities on the situation in Cameroon, and they tell me that the Western world, especially France, the United States, the European Union, that prior to the elections had been bought over to the to the beer cause, had bought into that argument that perhaps the beer camp still needed some little time to really assure a smooth transition, one that would be managed in a way that it would not lead to a lot of conflict. While they were agreed on this prior to the elections, the conduct of the elections and the level and childishness of the fraud perpetrated has left all of them not only shocked but seriously embarrassed, and the election turned out at the end of the day more like a sham. And so hurrying to endorse such a vote is putting them in a very difficult position. Don't forget, previously there was no internet. There was no Gen Z nosing into everything around. And the pressure that they're having now from Russia and China, especially Russia, that is making serious inroads into Francophone Africa, that pressure was not there. But now that pressure is present and the danger is real. I mean, the danger is real. And so, therefore, they have to play in a way that they play safe. So now, with France, finally, officially, congratulating Alassane Draman Ouattara, who equally disqualified the major opposition candidates and ended up with a score of over 80%. France, finally, yesterday, the 4th of November 2025, extended a message of congratulations to Alassane Draman Ouattara. That message read thus, because this is what I got from Agence France Presse. They say the president of the republic called the president of Ivory Coast, Alassane Ouattara, to congratulate him on his re-election following the proclamation of the results of the October 25 election by the Constitutional Council, the Élysée Palace indicated. He stated that he wanted to continue working alongside her to deepen and renew the already very close partnership between the two countries, as well as continue the dialogue on international issues, the French presidency added. That was published on c'est mardi, le 4 novembre 2025. That's Tuesday. That was yesterday, the 4th of November 2025. That message was preceded, was followed by another one from another key actor on the international scene and France's main ally, especially in matters that relate to its actions on the African continent, the United States of America. And that message was in French. It reads, Les États-Unis félicitent le président Alassane Ouattara pour sa réélection à la présidence de la République de Côte d'Ivoire. That is, the United States of America congratulates Alassane Draman Ouattara for his re-election as president of Côte d'Ivoire. They say, nous réaffirmons notre volonté de renforcer les liens bilatéraux exemplaires unissant nos deux pays afin de promouvoir la prospérité économique et la sécurité régionale au bénéfice des peuples américains et ivoiriens. Of course, they say they are reaffirming, the desire to reinforce, to deepen bilateral relations that they call exemplary bilateral relations between the two countries to foster economic prosperity and peace in that sub-region and ensure better living conditions for the peoples of Cote d'Ivoire and the United States of America. So with these two powers officially congratulating Alassane Draman Ouattara, who came with a score of 86%, there was this comment by former US President Barack Obama, who said, referring to Tanzania, that they should not really call Tanzania a democracy. And he said, there is that, I mean, it is time to stop sugarcoating by saying an election where someone scores 90, 98%, 90%, 80 something percent, you really can't describe that as a democracy. But Alassane Draman Ouattara scored 86%. He has been congratulated by the United States of America and France. That election took place on the 25th of October. But the election in Cameroon took place on the 12th of October. And Paul Biya is about to be sworn in a matter of just hours. These countries have stayed mute. In the place of message of congratulations coming in from either the United States or France, rather we had a tweet which I read yesterday. That tweet came from, a lawmaker in the United States, not just any kind of lawmaker, the chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And he said in that tweet, the corrupt Biya regime in Cameroon haunts its political opponents, enables Wagner's illicit activities, and has created conditions for jihadist groups like Boko Haram and ISIS to thrive and fuel the Anglophone crisis. And they said the regime has staged a sham re-election and unlawfully detained American citizens, including those from Idaho. Cameroon is not a U.S. partner and poses economic and security risks to the American people. It's time to reassess this relationship before the blowback gets even worse. Now, when you look at this, you ask yourself, but how did we get here? What happened? What happened? When we had seen the former French ambassador to Cameroon, Thierry Marchand, go to the palace, smoke Biya out of hiding, when all Cameroonians were asking, but where is Biya? Where is Biya? Just about a week or two, 2 to 3 weeks to the election, and came away from that audience and went before the cameras and said Paul Biya was in good state. Paul Biya still had all his faculties in place. Paul Biya, still had a good mastery of all the fires, and I believe that Paul Biya still had what it takes. Paul Biya still had what it takes to run the country for the next 7 years. This was France before the elections. So what happened? My dear people, I want to take this moment to explain this so that we could understand better. And before I get to that, let me tell you what is angering France right now with respect to Cameroon. We have seen Bruno Bidjan, who is one of the talking heads that La République du Cameroun is using to provoke, insult, and do everything here and there. Bruno Bidjan came on and insulted France, said a lot of derogatory things about France. Not only him, others have come after him and said France was making all the noise because La République du Cameroun is refusing to cooperate with them, to give them what they want, to left, right, to up, down, and said France did not have the powers or anything and did not have the right to interfere in the internal affairs of La République du Cameroun. A good lot of them have made all those kind of sarcastic statements, but the summum has been attained by what this gentleman is saying here. This man says he's a chief, he's a traditional ruler somewhere in Yaoundé. Hear what he says.
Je suis Aliman Sama Marcel, le chef traditionnel du 3e degré du village Guaykele et en même temps chef de la communauté Mzom. Je voudrais vous dire ici, mes chers frères, que nous sommes fatigués avec l'ambassade de France qui est en Guaykélé, c'est devenu, c'est de trop. Ils nous ont pris 7 hectares à nos parents, à nos grands-parents. Depuis, nous avons essayé de rencontrer tout le monde, l'ONU, le ministère, tout le monde. La France fait la sourde oreille, l'ambassade de France fait la sourde oreille. 7 hectares. Nous vivons dans la promiscuité. Si vous venez ici en Guayaquil, vous allez voir comment nous sommes serrés. Et c'est inadmissible. Avec tout ce qu'on entend que la France fait, accords coloniaux, pas d'accords coloniaux, nous on veut notre terrain. 7 hectares, c'est beaucoup. Si on nous remet ces hectares-là, on va s'installer. Nous sommes 60 familles en Guayaquil, au Lezoa, Carrefour des Carreaux. Donc nous demandons que la France se retire vraiment de ces espaces-là, ces espaces des invents. Que la France parte de là. Et maintenant, si on ne se fait pas écouter, nous allons faire des, des sittings là-bas, devant l'ambassade. Je dis bien, nous sommes 60 grandes familles. Vous connaissez 60 grandes familles, multipliées par le nombre d'enfants et tout ça, nous serons nombreux. On va manifester jour et nuit. Je vous remercie.
So, for those of us who do not understand French, this gentleman says he's a chief in Guayaquil. Guayaquil is in Yaoundé, of course, where the University of Yaoundé 1, around the area where the University of Yaoundé 1 is located. If you know where the monument is, and where the Quartier General is, and where the National Assembly building is, most of that area is called Nguaikele. And of course, that's where the French embassy is. Now, this gentleman is coming today, after a very disputed presidential election, to talk about 7 hectares of land that the French had taken in Guayaquil to construct their embassy. He is coming today in 2025. Has anyone asked themselves, since when the French took this land? This is something that should have happened many years ago. Almost 50 years behind. It is today that a chief from Guayaquil is coming to tell us how they have contacted the United Nations. They have contacted all bodies. They have reached out, they have written, they have done this because they don't have space. They don't have space. They don't have where to live. And they are the same people who have been selling land to everybody there. They don't have where to live. And they are so tight, they need the French to get out of their land. Like I said, this only adds to some of the stupid things that the Biya regime is doing out of desperation through proxies to try and force the hand of France to recognize that they have to come out of their silence, come out of their oblivion, mobilize the European Union, and of course its key ally, the United States of America, to give Paul Biya the much needed support that will enable him calmly enjoy the next 7 years that he has stolen from the people. All this that you are seeing, these are all approaches to pressure. This shows you the level of desperation in which Yaoundé finds itself right now. But I now go back to what I said a while ago, that the French were cooperative all the way, right up to the moment when they were getting to the election. What happened? When the two secret services exchanged notes that they had on each and every presidential candidate from each of the political parties, they come to the understanding that Issa Chiruma Bakari was really one of the lowest rated. One of the lowest rated. All the focus was on Maurice Kamto because all the other leaders of opposition parties were already weighed, and either discussions had either already been, held with them, or whatever. And so therefore, they knew that disqualifying Maurice Kamto meant the boulevard would be wide open for Paul Biya to quietly secure an 8th mandate with no political party present or having the arguments to protest whatsoever. So the score, the result of the election was going to be so obvious that obviously because of the weakness of the various opposition leaders, Biya easily had his victory. So there was going to be nobody calling for street protests, calling for ghost towns, showing, exposing to the entire world the level of cheating that happened. And they didn't expect that they would get right to the point where they got to. And so, therefore, having knocked out Maurice Kamto, everything was clear. Because that's the same thing that happened in Cote d'Ivoire. In Cote d'Ivoire, everything was done to ensure that no opponent who could have some serious argument at the polls was validated to be a candidate against Alassane Draman Ouattara. That's why Laurent Gbagbo, all the others were disqualified. And despite street protest after street protest after street protest, they never moved an inch. Because they knew that at the end of the day, the result that would come out from the polls would demonstrate that those who finally were candidates against Alassane Draman Ouattara were all weak people, could not get, arguments in the, in the ballot box to say that the election was stolen. And so you see that now there is relative calm. There's quite some calm in Cote d'Ivoire after the election. There's been no demonstration of, oh, there was rigging here and all whatnot. But in the case of Cameroon, it failed. It failed because at the very last minute, this, don't forget that this happened just about 3 weeks to the actual day of the vote, where against all odds, Anese Ekane, Jokam Chamene, and others came together and they created something called the Douala Group. I said they were working on getting a coalition. At the same time, don't forget that the leader of the CDU party, Madame Patricia Tomaino Ndamjoya, equally got opposition political leaders around her. We saw Akeremuna and others, all of them went there. They even ended, taking oaths before one of the traditional rulers in Bafusam, Sokoju, that they will not betray the people. But at the end of the day, their initiative did not get traction. You recall that finally, desperate for trying to ally at least with someone, Barrister Akeremuna finally went and, endorsed Beloboba Maigari after he met Isa Chiruma Bakari. And so when the Douala group was saying they had a platform and they needed someone to come onto that platform and accept to run on that platform, Beloboba and others, they saw it as laughable. All the other candidates saw it as laughable. But the people were thirsty to get some group come together. The people were thirsty to see a number of political parties come together and say, yes, we have agreed. This is what we will do. We will have a transitional period of this. And so we need somebody. And Isa Chiruma Bakari rushed and picked the opportunity. These political parties that came together were still lightweight. But now something happened. This Manidem party of Ekane and Ese was the party that had accepted to field Maurice Kamto as candidate. And La République du Cameroon played hard to outmaneuver them by overnight deciding that the president they were going to recognize as being the president of the Manidem party would be Monsieur Yebga and not Anise Ekane. And so they caused Yebga to put in his candidature as a president of the party. And of course, we know what Paul Atanganji did with the website of the Ministry of Territorial Administration, where he had to hack his own website, change information, and come and claim that the website was hacked by he did not know who, just so that they should now put a new document on the website that says that the recognized leader of the Manidem party was Yebga and not Anise Ekane. And so when Anise Ekane now was the one birthing this new platform with the Manidem, the MRC party of Maurice Kamto, that was so disappointed that Maurice Kamto was not candidate, saw in it a tacit endorsement of this platform that was now carrying Issa Chiruma Bakari by the MRC party. I had previously explained here that Maurice Kamto was under pressure from a lot of people to go ahead and endorse Issa Chiruma Bakari. But he didn't. And that was coy enough, because had Kamto done so, they were going to find arguments against that candidature. They were going to Christian tag Issa Chiruma Bakari as being a Bamileke transfuge. Don't forget also that I said here previously that the former French ambassador to Cameroon, Thierry Marchand, had met with Issa Chiruma Bakari and told him straight and obtained from Issa Chiruma Bakari not to get into any form of alliance with Maurice Kamto. Issa Chiruma Bakari is the one who made this information public. And so at the end of the day, the members or the militants, the followers of the MRC party who were dreaded, whom they knew were in very huge numbers, and they wanted to disenfranchise them or to put them before a fait accompli, that at the end of the day, Paul Biya will win and they will say there was nobody on the other side, threw their weight behind Issa Chiruma Bakari. And so all of a sudden, the plan that the French had, both in Côte d'Ivoire and in Cameroon, works in Côte d'Ivoire but fails in Cameroon. The whole thing collapses. Issa Chiruma Bakari overnight becomes a messiah. Issa Chiruma Bakari overnight becomes a Moses. And everybody's asking, but who Issa Chiruma? How comes? Issa Chiruma was from this government. And so therefore that alone was disqualifying. Issa Chiruma Bakari, seeing what he saw, smartly he started doing what? His mea culpa. Issa Chiruma Bakari, who was Saul yesterday, suddenly decided to become Paul. In the last weeks of the elections, explaining everywhere that whatever way he acted in the Biya system, he was acting according to the dictates of the Biya system. So he was literally constrained. And so therefore, following the statement of the Bishop of Yagua, who said, in fact, let the devil take power first, and then we can negotiate things with that devil later. But let this system change. So Issa Chiruma Bakari, among all the devils, became a better devil. And so, overnight, even places where Issa Chiruma Bakari did not place his leg to go and campaign, everybody was singing in favor of Issa Chiruma Bakari. Everywhere. Even in remote villages in the South region, people voted Issa Chiruma Bakari. And so, La République du Cameroon's thinking, people like Atanga Ponji and the people at Elekam, their thinking was they were still going to harvest votes in the northern regions for Paul Biya, and simply put that Paul Biya had won. So something happened. At the last minute, it became impossible for them to claim that Paul Biya will win, that Paul Biya won in the north, one in the Adamawa, and one in the far north. You see that they even manipulated the vote to say Paul Biya won in the far north. But even then, the margin was such that it would not take him anywhere. And so they were now forced to do something that simply destroyed the image of the entire vote. And I'm repeating it here because I said it before. What damaged the image of this election beyond recognition is what happened in the Southern Cameroons. The results that emerged from the Southern Cameroons, the participation rate, that is the voter turnout rate that was presented, the scores, the huge scores that Paul Biya got from the Southern Cameroons is what damaged the reputation of this election. That's what destroyed the image of the election. Because everyone says, no, this was too much. Everybody saw that in the Southern Cameroons, people did not go out. And it simply took people on the international scene to say, and don't forget, there's something called Project C. That Project C, oh yes, Eric Chinje and Enon Chong, they did an incredible job, along with Michel Doki and all the others who put themselves together and set up a system that enabled them to track down these results right from the polling stations, and this fraud was broadcast live. Gen Z showed Elekam officials, I mean, in motion videos confessing. We saw polling officers confessing to what they did. And so it, it was too much. It was too much for anyone to look the other way. Oh, yes, it was too much for anyone to look the other way. That is why we are where we are today. So, folks, we are hours away from serious drama, from two swearing in ceremonies for the same country. One country, two presidents. One that everyone will recognize as legitimate, the other one that will be recognized by his people as legal. So now you have legality versus legitimacy. But you need both to operate as a leader. So Issa Chiroma Bakari has withstood all the kind of pressure you can imagine. Both the soft pressure that could come with proposal of better positions, money, more opportunities, this and that, and all of those things, and the one that will come with the use of force. Only a ninja destroys a ninja. We watch movies like that, right? Sounds familiar? When I was young, I recall we used to watch these movies of the ninja. Someone see somebody come, boop, 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 and they said only a ninja can destroy a ninja. So it only needed somebody from within the system who comes away from there still fresh with excellent knowledge of how the system operates to bring that system down. This is what we are seeing today. I want to end this analysis here because I'm convinced that you have now understood from me exactly what is happening. So La République du Cameroon, Paul Biya's government is desperate for some kind of recognition from the major powers. But nothing has come. Leading up to November 6th, where they are going to swear Biya in. That has never happened. They are rather seeing rebuke. And that is why the Biya government is now using all of its people to turn the fire on France. Recall one Banda Ekani, at some point, because of the situation in the southern Cameroons and statements made by the then U.S. ambassador, Mr. Ballerin, Mbandakani said they will return him to America in a coffin. Oh yes, Mbandakani said they will return him to America in a coffin. So it's getting to that place where you may soon see French interests be attacked by Bulu Ekangbeti indigenes manipulated by the Biya system because they want to use that approach to put pressure on France to come in and finally back Paul Biya. How the situation unfolds, I can't tell right now. All we have to do is we'll be watching. In my broadcast of yesterday, I talked elaborately on how American interests are at stake in the northern regions of Cameroon. Reason, there is likely not to be any kind of compromise anytime soon unless it's a kind of compromise that Issa Chiroma Bakari and his supporters subscribe to. If you are already subscribed to this channel, awesome. Congratulations. Make sure you personalize so that each time I'm on the air, you will get an alert. But if you are not yet subscribed, do that right now so that you stay informed. And make sure also that you share the link. Share the link of this communication as much as possible. Let's continue to guide ourselves to understand exactly what is happening. When we have a careful understanding, when I do this breakdown, is to enable everyone be sensitized exactly to what is going on. That way, we are all going to know exactly how to operate. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your very kind attention. So let's watch and see. I don't know what happens. Probably Issa Chiroma Bakari also takes the oath of office this Thursday, November 6th, as Alice Nkom said. We don't know. We just keep the watch. Thank you very much for your kind attention.